Hi, this is Sam from 360salesleader.com, and I'm going to talk to you about value proposition.
There are two aspects that I want to talk to you about value proposition. So one is the value proposition itself. A good value proposition should have three key elements, all compressed into one. The first one being value to the customer. So what is value to the customer? It's simply the return minus the investment that you're seeking divided by risk. Let me repeat that formula. It's simply value is equal to the return that you're promising for the customer minus the investment that you're seeking through the proposal that you've submitted, divided by the risk as perceived by the customer, not as perceived by you, but as perceived by the customer. So that's value. And second is something has to change. So that's what I call as movement. Because of your value proposition, what's going to change? What's going to move? What meter are you going to move? What dial are you going to change? So that's involving what I call as the movement. The movement could be, are you reducing costs? Are you increasing revenue? Are you making the organization more compliant? Are you making the organization more secure? Are you increasing the quality of experience of a customer's customer? Or are you improving the quality of the products that are coming out of the factory of the customer? Are you reducing the time taken for a particular process which is impacting the user experience, so on and so forth? So what are you improving? What are you changing on the customer side? So that's the second element of the value proposition. The third element is what I call as the metrics. So the movement is the aspect of the change. The third is the metric. So the metric is the quantification of the movement. So if you're saying that you're going to reduce cost over a particular period of time, let's say you're reducing 10% of the product cost over a 6-month period, how much does it amount to in dollar terms should be quantified. The same case, if you're improving the revenue for the customer by, let's say, 8% over a 12-month period, let's say over a financial year period, how much is that value as perceived by the customer in dollar terms? Or if you're reducing the churn of their base customers by 2% or over a 3-month or a 4-month period, how much is that worth to the customer should be quantified. So the three aspects, so one is the value, the second is the movement, and the third is the metric. So that's one aspect. The second aspect on value proposition is many times we focus on the product alone. In fact, not even on the product, but we focus more on the technology, the features, the speed and feeds, and we restrict ourselves to that. But as we always know, we have to differentiate ourselves or we die. So differentiate or die is the mantra, right? So how do we differentiate? So many times, like I said, we get stuck at the product level. So even at the product level, there are two aspects that I want to highlight. Yes, I mean, today technology is not a differentiator, it's only a leveler. Everybody's got access to the technology. So let's say your solution is based on a particular network router of Cisco. Now, every partner who is quoting for that particular opportunity is going to, let's say, quote that particular model. What are the configuration aspects, or what are the customization aspects that you've brought to the table? Yes, it's based on that Cisco network router 6xxx, but what are the things that you've done, having understood the requirement of the customer? What are the configuration aspects that you've taken care of, which is going to result in either some savings for the customer, or have you optimized the solution, or are you allowing for future upgradability so that you're going to save some cost for the customer when it comes to upgrades? Because many times when it comes to upgrade, it's a rip and replace kind of a situation. You have to completely remove the hardware and then plug in a new type of hardware. So that's going to be very costly for the customer. But if you've configured the solution in such a manner that when it comes to upgrades, the customer can use the existing hardware to upgrade to take care of future requirements, then you've saved money for the customer. So if there's configuration details that you want to highlight, you should highlight the configuration difference. The second is the customization. So you've taken that base technology and you've added some custom elements on top of it. You've brought in some third-party elements. It could be software, it could be some add-on hardware, or it could be a combination of both, which is resulting in some incremental value for the customer. So that should again be highlighted. So those are differences that you can show on top of the standard product or the technology that you've brought to the table. The second aspect is many times, the second and the third aspect, what I'm going to speak about is something that we've always forgotten, or many times we forget to highlight, is what I call as the process capability that your organization has brought in. So many of your organizations are certified for processes. It could be an ISO 9000 certification, or 27K certification, certain data center certifications, networking certifications, security certification, change management, or risk management certification, so on and so forth. There are many certifications that your organization would enjoy. We should highlight the process and the methodology that your organization brings to the table. Process means there is a method, and if there's a process and there's a method, then you're reducing defects during implementation. Not only that, many times you're also compressing the timeline that's required to implement a project. And last but not the least, you're also removing many of the risk elements involved during the implementation or a particular service delivery. So these are all what the advantages that processing brings to the table. So what's the complexity involved? So when it comes to talk about processes, you need to highlight the complexity and the criticality. So how critical is it to have that 27K certification? How critical is it to have the data center certification? So you need to highlight the complexity involved and the criticality involved in such a process, and how your organization, thinking on behalf of the customer, is taking care of that aspect. Now the last aspect, which is the most important aspect, is that many times we forget to highlight the people that we bring to bear on behalf of the customer in successfully configuring and implementing a project, right? What are the competencies of our people? What are the capabilities of the people? What is the experience that this person brings to the table? How many years has he worked in this vertical? What is his prior knowledge of addressing similar customer requirements that he has successfully implemented? What are the case studies that have emerged out of this person's implementation? So on and so forth. So we need to highlight the people capability and the skill set and the competencies that we bring to bear as an organization. Now, once you put all of this together is when you will be able to highlight the value to the customer. Many times we get stuck on price. That is because we have not highlighted the value, which is the return that we bring to the table minus the cost involved. And when I'm talking about value, the product aspect, the process aspect, and the people aspect can come in handy for you to work on those elements so that you can clearly differentiate yourself vis-a-vis your nearest competition and then go for the kill.
Thanks for listening to me. This is Sam from 360salesleader.com. So till the time I speak to you next, take care of yourself and happy selling.